Hello, everybody, and welcome to Health Confidential with Simone Gisondi, the podcast where the secrets of the body meet the mysteries of healing. Each week, I explore the powerful world of holistic medicine, blending ancient wisdom and cutting edge science, conventional insight, and unconventional truths to decode some of the toughest cases and the most misunderstood conditions. I'm a certified holistic cancer therapies practitioner, a registered holistic nutritionist, and certified regenerative detoxification specialist. I am not a medical doctor. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. The diagnosis and therapies discussed here may not be right for you. Please consult a qualified healthcare medical provider before making changes to your health. To learn more about my work or to experience the power of the custom-made healing protocols that I develop, designed specifically for your unique body, your unique biochemistry, your history, and your internal terrain, visit simonegisondi.com and book a private consultation with me. And if this episode speaks to you, follow me on Instagram at simone.gisondi and share this episode with someone you love. Thank you for listening, and welcome to today's episode of Health Confidential. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Health Confidential. I am so happy for today's conversation because, as we all know, there are women out there who build brands, and then there are women who build languages. Languages that the body already understands because women are the portal between the intuitive world and this world right here. And my guest today is one of those amazing women. Nadine Artemis is someone who has never tried to convince the body of anything. And I tell you this because I use her brand. Instead, her work actually listens, and it listens to the skin as the living organ that it is. It listens to scent as memory. And we all know that scent is memory, and to plants as intelligence rather than mere ingredients in the products. Through her brand, Living Libations, she quietly reoriented beauty away from the need to correct, away from domination, and back towards relationship. And what has always stood out to me in particular is that her work doesn't treat beauty as something to be achieved, but rather as something to be remembered, as coherence in the body, as vitality and aliveness. So this conversation, my friends, is not about products or routines when it comes to beauty, but rather it's about what happens biologically, what happens emotionally, what happens culturally when we just stop trying to fix the body and start respecting its intelligence. Nadine, welcome to my show. I'm so grateful to explore this territory with you today.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be back and so beautiful to hear your very poetic intro. Thank you.
I absolutely love the brand. So let's actually tell the audience a little bit about Living Libations so that they can understand it in the way that you want to transmit it. I understand it because I use it. So for me, it is intelligence embodied in beautiful bottles. But tell the audience about Living Libations.
Yes, well, libations are an outpouring of a nectar in honor of life or a deity or whatever. So that's where I love that word because we're living because we're alive and our what we make is alive. And so it's really an outpouring of nectar, depending how you look at it, or you can look at it a few ways. Like it's the outpouring of the nectar from the plants, it's the outpouring of that nectar of the elements of our relationship to the cosmos, and then
Yes.
it's that outpouring of when you of yourself in honor, like that part of you that can be an outpouring in our expression, creation, and just our living and breathing, so to speak. So that is the meaning behind the name. And I have been formulating since I was about 18. But prior to that, of course, I was just like a kid mixing things that didn't necessarily make sense in the bathroom, in the kitchen, and that kind of stuff. But I definitely had this inclination. When I was 16, I would just take even like commercial perfumes and mix them or mix in the eyeshadow with the lip balm. Like
Oh,
I
wow.
definitely I had this, like, I had to do something. And prior to that, it was just like mud, pies with geranium petals and applying mud to the face and jumping in the lake. So then when I was 18 and I was at university, which is a whole awesome time, but you're making your own food and you're just taking care of yourself in a new way. And I walked home by this little health food store every day called Grains and Beans and Things. And that was great because eventually I kind of bought every book and being in there. And the books were so, like, I learned about dissecting labels at the supermarket. And then there was these books by this European naturopath called like Swedish Beauty Secrets, How to Get Well. And he was just sort of mapping the body and just like, it was just like a time where I was learning about all these other ways to understand the body and its functions and what goes wrong, quote unquote, like if we get a headache or a stomach ache or perhaps constipate, like or what am I trying to say here, like a headache could be from constipation or
That's right.
congested skin would be from constipation.
That's
These were
right.
very not necessarily new concepts but new to that like
Hmm.
1990s scenery in Canada and North America.
Yeah.
And so that was really awesome. And then school, like the learning was interesting too, because I was doing a lot of stuff with, they used to have women's studies back then. And so it was great because you could explore whatever you wanted. So I was looking at like projects like midwifery or exploring the history of birth control and then and then just sort of understanding like our like bodies in general, and of course a little extra understanding of women's bodies through this historical framework and the things we did to our bodies, from like foot binding to like arsenic and lead in our makeup,
Oh,
and just sort of
yes.
seeing the whole map of it, and then bringing in this other health information I was understanding. Because when I grew up, generally, which I feel like I don't know when it all started, when we kind of went to the doctor and the dentist twice a year. And that was, I don't know if that started in the 50s or whatever, but that was that was healthcare, right? Just like, two dentists, two doctors a year, and you're done. Or if you had a headache, Tylenol, stomach ache, Pepto-Bismol. So to me, it was just sort of opening up this whole other world. And we didn't have the word yet, but it like biohacking. It's like, oh, if I do this herb and take that, I will have that result. Or even food as biohacking, like understanding like how not to be constipated or what do all these things. So it was just so much. And then dissecting the labels I thought was very, for me in that moment, was amazing because I'd spent the 80s looking at all these skincare bottles. You're bathing in your bubbles, you look at the backs of the labels and we couldn't really read them. It was all just like really big chemical names, you know what I mean? So so you always thought body care was like definitely something you're not going to make in your kitchen because it was like all these words that, you know what I mean, like chemical words like sodium lauryl sulfate or blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So to understand the labels, even through like first up food, so that like brown sugar is white sugar with molasses. All bran, which was so popular back then, I don't know if it still is, but like had like basically like wood pulp fibers, and just really seeing that, or that like in a can of soup, a cheese might have 20 more ingredients that aren't even on the label. So I just like applied that. I looked at it, made me look at all my body shop stuff, which seemed like the answer at that time because it was sort of the first. It was like natural beauty was sort of, it was just like a bit of a revival then,
Yes.
especially coming out of the 80s. I feel like in the 70s, there was a lot of like moving, like, or I don't know if they were actually organic, but organic shampoos and like they were talking about not harsh detergents, like Farrah Fawcett hair. And it was just all this
Hmm.
like commercials with like let the sun in your hair. Then the 80s got very different, even more chemicals. So the body shop seemed like a new thing, and it was very
Yes.
much marketed on the green, and it was a different texture and it was a different scent profile, but when you really get into it you understand that it's from the same realm of just total petroleum based synthetics and fragrances, and that the dewberry is not a plant. The fuzzy peach bath oil has never been impeached. The pineapple based cleanser did not have any pineapple in it. So that was like it. So it seemed different from like the Clinique and the Christian Dior, but then I was like, oh my God, it's kind of just the same thing. But in that moment, um, which I'm sure was like more than a moment, but 30 years later or however I am, it feels like
Yes.
a moment. But I really was within the course of a few weeks, and I was just like, kind of just finally had a legitimate excuse, so to speak, to actually make my own formulations, which I think was just sort of in there all along. But when I really understood that even the body shop was total BS, I was just like, okay, and I've been making my own food in a new level.
Yeah.
And luckily I had my own little kitchen. So I just started concocting and making, lip balms and perfumes. And I was putting lip balms in recycled film canisters because packaging was hard, or these beautiful blue glass bottles at the time that were very popular for water, like spring water. I would collect those for the body oils and all that. But the cool thing is I had done a project in grade 9 to remake a perfume, and that is the first time that I found this book at the library that talked about where perfumes actually came from and the distillation of the plants, and they had their roots in Egypt, and like that was all new to me because I just sort of came into the 80s with just Christian Dior perfume and Poison. It was just like this whole like realm that didn't have historical context. So that
Right.
was sort of blowing me away, and I love that. And then it talked about that they were using distillations from plants, and they explained distillation because Egypt was one of the first. And then it said that these are essential oils and they could be found at the health food store. So this is like 80, I don't know, 86 or something. So we went to the big city, went to the health food store, and that's where I got my first whiff of like orange and ylang and jasmine. And it was
Oh,
very different. It's not like my brain had the language to understand like that this was like natural, 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 and that others were synthetic. Like, I mean, I got it, but I kind of came to understand it even more later, like the differences. But it definitely spoke to my brain and my nose in a totally different way. Like when you just smell real orange oil, especially back
absolutely.
then, you're just like, whoa, like we didn't have that. It was just like a soundscape of, kind of Glade air fresheners and watermelon chewing gum. So that was cool. And then I remade L'air de Temps, this Nina Ricci perfume. And then I didn't think too, like I had a couple essential oils and stuff. But then when I was starting to formulate, I went deep, deep into the essential oils because to me, they were this palette of, just this palette of like active ingredients that actually did stuff, and not because they smell beautifully, and there can be, because of marketing and stuff, this thing that aromatherapy seems frivolous or just like like a Hallmark greeting card of scent, but the essential oils are so potent and they do smell, but
Yes.
then they're generally, as a group, they are antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral. Many are anti-inflammatory. I mean, all to varying degrees depending on their whole chemistry. And each drop of an oil has over like 400 chemical constituents that make up that singular drop. So there's
That's right.
so much nuance in there, much that we understand, much that we will still come to understand. And these are ingredients that have been used for thousands of years, and they just add such a dimension and activity. So then I was able to, my first body care was like, yes, obviously I wanted to be natural and moisturizing and pleasant and all of that, but I wanted to make things that did something. So I would make, body oils that were circulatory. So one was like for waitress legs, because a lot of us were waitressing, getting spider veins, or, lip balms that could take care of cold sores, or moisturizer that could take care of eczema. So I really wanted to make things active because I was I was combining what I was learning about sort of solving those little symptoms of the body. You know what I mean? That can kind of throw us off our game or
Yes.
eventually lead to something that we don't want. And if we can nip those things in the bud with ease and grace and add to our body's immune system, not compromise it, because most beauty, I'm speaking very generally, but the ingredients in there they're not even neutral to our health, their negative impact. So some natural stuff can be neutral, but we want to go beyond that. We want to enhance the immune system, enhance our microbiome, work with the body, work with the systems that are already in place to take care of us, and not add on products and ingredients that are, eventually may plump something for a day or give us moisture, but that down the road they're storing up in our body like parabens in breast tissue or affecting our endocrine system. Because that just doesn't make sense.
Especially the endocrine system. And I know that a lot of people, and I'm sure everybody in the audience can probably relate to this. Sometimes when you're near someone who's wearing one of those mainstream perfumes, and all of a sudden you get a whiff of it, and your own ability to breathe just drops drastically. That's your body telling you something, that the presence of those chemicals that it just ingested or it just took in is obviously now going to suppress one of your main functions. And so that alone is information that people could say. But I really wanted to touch on a couple of things, Nadine, because what you said. So when I was in school, and I did go back to school to study holistic health. So I studied detoxification and holistic cancer therapies and um, anything related to holistic health, really. And I know that one of the things that I learned, which is so important, is that the skin, being one of the largest organs that we have, is a detoxification organ. And that happens when the pores open. So there's through the heat, especially. So saunas are very important. You dilate. So therefore, there is an exchange of things that come out of the body via detoxification. And whatever actually happens to be on the skin now has an entrance into the body. And so a lot of the things that we actually apply to the skin ends up in the body. So I went on this path of telling people, even at the beach, do not put those chemicals that you find in sunscreens, even though you do want to protect against the effects of the sun. It doesn't make any sense to be able to introduce chemicals into the bloodstream or into the body for that matter. So when I
And then
came
especially
across
add sun to that.
and scents, exactly, exactly. And to your point, what you said about the ingredients, these like 24-letter words that nobody can even pronounce. There's nothing natural about that. But one of the things that I learned when I was in school is we had this one lecture, and there was this doctor that was talking about how in the industry, and it was such an eye opening statement. In the industry, when they have a big vat of whatever it is that they're making, and they add, let's say, to a 1,000 pound of something that they're making, or 1,000, ounce, whatever the case may be, and they add one single drop of something, they can then technically claim that that product is made with something natural, even though it is, think about it, 1,000 fluid ounces to a single drop, you barely get anything out of it. So oftentimes the marketing is such that people believe that what they buy, much to what you were saying about the in the beginning when you first started speaking about it, about that other brand, what was it called? The
The Body Shop.
Body Shop.
Yeah,
Thank you, because
yeah.
I use that brand as well in the beginning, and then when I went to school and I started reading labels, much like what you were saying, it kind of opened my eyes. But then I went on to do this aromatherapy course. And the thing that blew my mind the most, and I really want people to understand why you formulate with essential oils. If we go back to, and I'm trying to make this as simplistic as possible, just in the name of the time that we have available for this conversation. But if we are all energy, and the frequency and the vibration of a healthy body highly depends on what it interacts with in its auric field. So, what kind of vibration and what kind of frequency do you bring into the body, even through one of the organs, which is the skin? So, when I looked at the massive frequency of essential oils, the amount of information that vibrates so highly. And I did this, believe it or not, Nadine, when I was studying holistic cancer.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there were
Makes
people,
sense.
not that I'm trying to make any medical claims here, but there were people that had used many, and I spoke even with, in one of the case studies that I did, I spoke with a massage therapist when I was out in Mississauga, and she was a huge believer in essential oils. So we got talking about it, and she had used essential oils on a cancer patient who actually ended up healing from the cancer. And one of the modalities he used, alongside, of course, proper nutrition, other lifestyle factors, was essential oils on the back because he was actually suffering with lung cancer, and he
Mm.
was insisting that she only use essential oils when she massage him so that he can actually gain the amazing energy, the amazing vibration, the amazing information from the essential oils. And eventually, of course, like he ended up not having to go through anything like surgical intervention or chemotherapy. And when I thought about it, I was like, wow, oh my goodness, just knowing how much information the body gets that it can put to good use for coherence so that we can actually get the body to go and start doing the healing that it wants to do and it's
Mm.
programmed to do. So, in that regard, when you look at the body, especially the skin, in your opinion, especially as a formulator and as one of the foremost experts in the beauty industry, do you experience it more as a system, a consciousness, a conversation? Because that case that I ran across, it just opened my eyes so much to think like this essential oil went through the skin to help the body do something. So it obviously had its own consciousness interacting with the consciousness of the body. There was a conversation, there was an extraction of information. So, what would you say to that for the audience to understand the importance of using formulations that actually contain more than just something you put on the skin?
Well, you're right, and it is a relationship, and we're in relationship to all things,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's that level of information, and then our bodies are communicating and having conversations with molecules that we're not always like
Yes.
actively aware of, so to speak. Like we don't know, we put something on our skin, and we don't like know the whole conversation between all the, you know, molecular messengers that are released from the brain and all that kind of stuff. So the thing that really has always spoken to me about the essential oils is that they really are, they're a very special substance that is very singular on the planet. There is an essential oil is an essential oil is an essential oil. They're like, it's not a fatty oil. So it's not like a lipid based olive oil, coconut oil. There's no fat. So essential oils cannot go rancid, and yet and so there, some of them, like there's all kinds of thicknesses and viscosities and everything, but you think about a classic lavender, peppermint, eucalyptus, they're very thin, almost watery, but it is not water. And essential oils, while they have no fat, they do not mix with water. So in the distillation process, which you would gather, let's say rose, you'd have all the roses gathered, those would be picked at dawn. 60 rose heads makes one drop of oil.
Wow.
So rose can be more expensive because that yield is low. Whereas you take the same amount of lavender and you could have like a liter of lavender essence. That's might not be ratio correct, but the 60 rose heads for one drop of rose is correct. So that's also how, like, why essential oils are all different prices, because it's all like how much effort is like takes to squeeze that beautiful essential oil out of the plant, which come from special glands within the plant. And it's not every plant. It has to be an aromatic molecular plant. So roses, yes. Tulips, no. Pine, yes, not maple. So just kind of we have the lovely maple water from the maple trees. But anyway, so they're not a watery, they're not a fat. They are also evaporative. So if you left the cap off, it's a volatile, so it means it will escape. So over time, wouldn't be right like water, it wouldn't evaporate as fast as water, but you leave the cap off, it will, escape into the air. So it has all these qualities that are unlike any other substance, and they're, to me, they kind of bridge that world, which I think is the world, which is that interface between what's form and formless, formlessness between what's tangible and intangible. As in, we all kind of have these bodies and we're living on the planet, and yet, we breathe. What is breathing us? What makes the sunrise? We don't know. But to me, essential oils can be a part of that because they do tap into scent, and scent as a sense is also, um, to me, it connects us beyond that 3D. Like touch, taste can be very 3D,
That's
and
right.
so they speak to a part of our sensory thing that we can't always express, like me right now, or to even describe smell. We actually don't really have any smell vocabulary. We borrow from all the other senses to describe a smell. Like it
So
smells
true.
velvety and smooth and
So
berry
true.
like. Sort of, yeah. Um, so that's what I love about the essential oils. And yes, coherence and vibration. And I've even done fun things where you would take dowsing rods and you kind of walk up to somebody, check kind of where the auric field starts to make the dowsing rods move. And then you anoint the person with essential oil and do it again. And then you're reading the aura from many feet further back. So there is all that. And I love all that. And the very cool thing about the essential oils is you don't even need to believe that, understand it, or think it, or know it. It's happening. And then the very cool thing about the oils is there is total 3D, so to speak, information on them on a scientific level. So, go into PubMed and you can find probably hundreds for sure, probably thousands of studies on how essential oils do affect abnormal cells, abnormal skin cells, stop cells from going down malevolent pathways, how they can clean up infection and so many things. So then there's this real reality to them that is combined with their complete ethereal nature. And that's like just one of the fun things about working with them. And the fun thing is there's not just one. There's like, we work with over 150 of these amazing essences. So they,
Yes,
and transdermal, yeah. So they affect us transdermally. Even if you had no sense of smell, that rosemary is going to go in and it's going to improve your circulation. And then
that's
it
right.
leaves the body, which is also what we want. We don't want it staying around. And then if you can smell, then it's like extra fun because then every time you inhale, whether it's from the body oil that had the essential oils or just a direct bottle of frankincense, those molecules go up into they're inhaled, they communicate with the hypothalamus,
That's
and
right.
then it is a neurotonic that can release neurotransmitters, and that's been studied for decades as well. So bergamot will help with things like anxiety and depression on a physiological level and on this emotional, spiritual level, because you're smelling the bergamot, which most people just would smell that and it would bring a smile to their face. It's a citrus. It's actually how they flavor Earl Grey tea. So it is a familiar scent to many of us. And yeah, so just they're very multidimensional, the essential oils. And there's, again, we love herbal infusions, we love like olive oil, but there's just something extra with the essences.
Yes, and I want people to understand. And I actually did not know what you said there was so important to me. So they never go rancid.
No, they don't. Now, you can have improper storage. You could have like citrus oils, essential oils like orange, lemon, grapefruit. They might lose their sparkle, so to speak, in like a few years, but they wouldn't be bad. They would just maybe be like, I kind of, like the one that was just distilled. But though half the time you probably wouldn't even notice if an orange oil was like 2 years old.
Yes.
Then some of the oils just like, oh, they just get so super fine with age, like spikenard, sandalwood, patchouli. At an auction last year, I got a 80-year-old bottle of sandalwood that was still
Wow.
corked and sealed with metal, had never been opened. And it was a beautiful classic Indian santalum album. And it's so gorgeous. It's so beautiful. And when they excavated and did archaeology for much of Egypt, and if they could find in the burial some, various burial chambers. Alabaster jars were often used, and they were filled with their distillations like cedar, frankincense, myrrh, which were main ingredients for embalming,
That's right.
right? Because why? They have their antifungal, antiviral, they're like amazing for the
Exactly.
skin. And they would, so I don't know how many years later we're at from the archaeological finds, but like, thousands of years, hundreds of years at least, and everything is still smelling, it still smells, it's still good. So you can store things properly, or if you had like there's some blue oils like German chamomile, yarrow, blue tansy. If you stored them in a bottle and there was like half air in there for years, that air will oxidize, not in a like bad way, but it will just like fade. The color will maybe fade on the blue oil a bit because that little bit of air in the bottle. So with proper storage, they'll be amazing for years. But and if they just don't go rancid. So even an orange oil 10 years from now isn't going to be actually rancid. And
That
another beautiful ingredient that we love is jojoba, which actually is a lipid. So it is a fat. It has ceramides and fatty acids. It's a desert plant. And it's the only plant so far. Well, I'm sure there's others, but anyway, it's a liquid wax. It's not an oil. And the
liquid
very cool thing, so it's
wax.
very synergistic with our sebum. Generally, it's too expensive for most cosmetic companies to use. However, I love it. And I think it's worth it because it also doesn't go rancid. So, it's like top level for your skin and it doesn't go rancid because we also don't want to be applying rancid things to our skin. But if the jojoba, which is a fat or liquid wax, stored properly, it will last for 100 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's
Wow, wow, wow.
yeah, it's pretty cool, that oil.
I want to go a little bit just to do honor to the aromatherapy course that I did
Yeah.
because I remember so Rose, and I know that I love your Rose line. I mean, just wow. So, from a frequency perspective, I want people to understand everything is measured. So, um,
Are you talking
r-
about the ORAC measurement?
yes,
Yes.
yes, through the
Which
ORAC,
is
yeah.
oxidative what is that again? Oh, it'll come to me.
Yes, it's the oxidative rate
Reactive
of that. That's right.
something.
So,
Yeah.
but more importantly, what is the measurement of the vibration? So I know that
Right.
Rose in particular is the highest one, and it's at 320 megahertz. And I want the audience to understand what exactly does that mean. And so the human body, just in comparison, so Rose is at 320 megahertz. A healthy human body is at around 62 to 68 megahertz. And disease starts around the 58. You know that there's disease in the body when we are at the 58 mark. But what exactly is it that we refer to? Because most people don't understand what we mean when we say megahertz. Like, what exactly is megahertz? So, megahertz, just for those of you that don't understand, 1 hertz means 1 cycle per second, which means that 1 megahertz is 1 million cycles per second. Therefore, the frequency of Rose alone at 320 megahertz is 320 million cycles per second. That is how high the oscillation is, the vibration of the rose oil. And of course, there are the other ones that are just as important, and they all, especially when you use them together in the way that you formulate, Nadine. So sandalwood is 98 megahertz, so 98 million cycles per second. Peppermint, which is one of the ones that the lady that I was telling you about, who was doing the
Right.
massage for the cancer patient, 78 megahertz, so 78 million cycles per second. So if we look at bringing in that immense vibration into the body, especially when you think that consciousness is what vibrates at the highest. That's why I was asking whether this is a consciousness. You're bringing a very high vibrating consciousness information into the human body so that the two can have a conversation and a relationship, so that the body can take the information, that high vibrating information, and put it to use, much like how you described, so that it can actually do the beneficial work that we are looking for. So, for me to put it on the largest organ, of course, this is why it's so important. And I'm such a big fan of your work, especially in light of the fact that when you look at the modern beauty, everything is based on correcting something or other.
Yeah.
So, so I wanted to know from your perspective, what's actually happening biologically when we stop trying to fix the skin and actually feeding it this beautiful energy, this consciousness that we create the relationship with. In that sense, do you think that skin misbehaves and needs to be brought back into behavior, or do you think it's responding intelligently to this information that we bring in instead of trying to correct it?
Yeah, I mean it does, as you're saying. It may seem like an issue, but the body's trying to course correct, right? So like the oily face, so to speak, might be because of the overstripping with chemicals that are throwing off the production of the sebaceous glands.
Mm-hmm.
I think in terms of like beauty not being something that we apply or correct, but rather like reveal and resonate and
Yes.
replenish. So that being said, we want to, yeah, sort of bring it out of us from the inside out and like our own innate beauty. And then I think when we're using things that harmonize with our skin, harmonize with our microbiome, then we can enjoy that cellular resonance rather than sort of like Lady Macbething our beauty and like being like out, scrubbing out the spots and that whole situation.
Lady
So
Macbething. I like that.
I just made that up. So we do want to bring like a different sort of mindset, and then hopefully, yeah, we can use things. And it's again, it's not like well, with in my book Renegade Beauty, it's like of course I do make all these formulations, but I also give all the tools for anybody to do like to make their own skin serums and all that kind of stuff because it is really quite easy and it doesn't have to be complex or take like even using if you use like olive oil and jojoba with like rose oil for the rest of your life like that you'd be far better off than any of the
100%.
thousands of drugstore or over-the-counter beauty brands. I just have to get my dog. Hold on.
Yes.
Barking.
Yes. And I wanted to actually, just on that note, it's true because you would be, for the audience out there, you would be getting all of that information and all of that high vibration that I just mentioned with regards to at least even the rose oil. So that high
Yes,
vibration would go to work to do a lot of healing inside the body. A lot, a
exactly. And
lot.
it's things you're doing anyway. So you could, there's many ways to enjoy, she went outside. There's many ways to enjoy the rose oil, but sometimes it's just like if you just make it a part of what you're already doing, right? You've got to like, wash your body and anoint with some kind of moisturizer anyway. So why not just make
Anoint.
it totally high vibe and actually be good for your skin? You want to absorb it transdermally. You want it to be absorbed by your body. And I think that's really important. So there's, understanding what's harming us, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. And yeah, letting that beautiful resonance come in. And so this correcting, and then we're correcting even with the wrong tools. So forget even the mindset, then we're adding things that might, again, in this day, make up something plump or whatever, but then it might be for long-term drought on a cellular level, or having more parabens in your body. Parabens are allowed in organic skincare, and it's like it is a preservative, and to use it you only have to use 0.01%, so it's minuscule.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, it's not, but when they studied diseased breast tissue, 99% had paraben stored in the tissue.
Yes.
So it's not a lot,
Yes.
but it shows up. It's very tenacious. So for me, and what I want to have in my body, which is again, so then what do I want to have in my formulas? Is I just want every drop to count. We're not like, here's our active key ingredients, and hopefully you won't
Yeah.
see the others. It's like everything has a purpose in that formula. There's no filler, there's no fluff. We're like down to get to business and the beauty of it, and just the beauty of the plants coming together, resonating with our bodies in a way that we're not going to have to compensate.
And just as a little tip for the audience, and just based on what you said, Nadine, because I remember I learned this the hard way. And the aha moment was, of course, when I did the aromatherapy course. So I remember, so when I did the aromatherapy course, they used to say, like attracts like. So what the body recognizes, like the energy of the body recognizes the energy of the plants. And so like attracts like, it actually like works synergistically. And I
Mm,
remember when I was younger, and of course I didn't know anything, and I used to just believe that all the stuff that you would see on those TV commercials, Noxzema and oil of Olay and all of that.
yeah.
And I remember how much I would strip my skin,
Mm,
and then I ended up having oily skin. I didn't know why at the time, because
yes.
obviously when you strip all the oil out of it, the body just thinks, oh my God, it's out of balance. Let's
I
produce
got to make
more
more. Yeah.
oil, right? So that it can actually bring it back to balance. So I would walk around and I had shiny face, of course, especially in the T zone. Went to the doctor and got put on birth control pills because they said
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh well, you're producing this and you're gonna get acne. We don't want acne, so let's kind of regulate it through birth control pills, of course.
Sounds like such a simple answer.
Anything pharmaceutical. So in that regard, I realized that, and then when I went to school, connecting the dots, I remember how somebody said in one of the classes that we did, uh, why do you people put creams on your face? Your body doesn't produce cream, it produces oil. And I thought there's nothing more brilliant than this when it comes to beauty, literally nothing.
Totally.
And I started
Yes.
using oils. And I remember at the time, somebody in my family who was staying over saw, and they're like, why are you putting oil on your face? Why don't you use cream? I'm like, God, no, never again. So I
Although, I mean,
really,
a good cream is good because it's just water and oil in a way. It's like mayonnaise in a way, where you're just emulsifying a water and an oil. So it
yeah.
should be okay. But I love that. That's very astute.
Yes, exactly. Like if the body produces like attracts like, if the body produces oil, just give it oil. Except, of course, I mean, don't go putting any kind of vegetable oil
No,
on your
or
skin.
soy, or even in the natural realms, almond.
Yeah,
And the almonds just need a break. Like, and almond isn't going to be 100% pure. Grapeseed, it's it's always with solvents. It's quite a gloppy. Like if it was unrefined, it would be even less workable. Those two also, and again, I doubt most of their purity. Rancid. By the time you're getting it home, just rancid.
exactly.
Peach kernel, those are all just not beneficial. No soy, no petroleum, and there's like 50 names for petroleum oil in a cosmetic situation, and no pore in your body is parched for petroleum and its derivatives ever.
Exactly. And also a lot of I mean, that's another show altogether, but the practices of how they get oils that are on the market, even the ones that we consume
Yeah, they're
nutritionally.
winterized, deodorized. The
That's
processing is
right.
really, you will never want, if you look at that,
Yes.
it's easy to find. You wouldn't want to eat
Yes.
it or apply it to your skin ever again.
Although I have to say, when I was pregnant, so I had two pregnancies, both boys, so they were quite big pregnancies. I actually just applied what I was doing to my face. I applied oil to my belly so that I
Yeah.
can keep it from obviously when it stretches, especially if it's not
Mhm.
properly hydrated from the inside and from the outside. obviously it's going to start because everybody was like, my belly's so itchy. I'm like, mine's never itchy. But it was every day, multiple times a day, I would apply oil. And
Mhm.
lucky for me, at the time, I used to get olive oil straight from
Oh, be
Greece.
Greece, beautiful.
Yes. And it was just even the scent of it was beautiful. So
It
yes,
is.
absolutely. I think that we need to treat the skin as the organ that it is. Now, I
Yes.
want so the olive oil that I was putting on my belly had this beautiful scent, and it stayed with me, especially because it was the emotion of the pregnancy, but scent bypasses language and goes straight into memory and emotion for me. And
Mhm.
I've kind of gotten attached to that even with your products because I love the vanilla one on my face. And I have
Vanilla best skin ever?
oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Those all the best skin evers too are so beautiful for preventing
Oh,
stretch marks. Like if nobody gets stretch marks from
yes.
these. One woman did like one breast with the best skin ever and one just to see, and one breast got stretch marks.
There
So
you
just do the whole
go.
thing.
That's a great study, Nadine.
Yeah, it was a
That's
while
a
ago, but
great
yeah,
study.
it's just
Um,
guaranteed. No, all type. If they just start and start early, all kinds of body shapes and sizes, no stretch marks. Because you're also, yeah, giving the skin what it needs.
yes. So in that regard, what it did for me, and I really wanted to touch on this with you because you're the formulator of this specific product that I use. So
Yes.
for me, scent bypasses language.
Yes.
And we all know, like when you smell something that brings you back to a memory from far before and how you felt in that moment. So for me, when you work with aromatic plants like you do when you formulate, it's beyond just working with the chemistry of it, but rather with consciousness.
Yes.
Because for me, and of course, I'm speaking about my own experience, but I wanted to know whether you've heard this from anyone else or even yourself. What happens to our nervous system when we start our day with something that smells alive, that has consciousness? Because I know that certain formulations, certain oils, much like what you were saying, some of them are sedative, some of them are calming, some of them. So it calmed my nervous system. I remember that, how I felt, and it blew my mind. And I thought, I'd like to take a quick break now to let you know that today's show is sponsored by my book, Against Medical Advice. This book is a memoir, and it tells the story of how I built my life back after suffering a stroke during my divorce. I discuss the nutritional, lifestyle, and mindset aspects that I put into practice to regain my health and rebuild my life. The book has been a labor of love, both writing it and publishing it, and I couldn't be more proud of it. Please pick up your copy from Amazon. For your very own signed copy, my email address is simone@simonegisondi.com. Oh, and I'd really appreciate it if you'd please consider leaving a review once you've read the book. And now, back to the show. This goes beyond beauty. This goes beyond skincare. This goes just so much deeper.
Yeah, that's what I want in every bottle. And why not? Because that's what you want it. You want it to be working with you on all the levels, on all your sensory,
Yes.
so there's a real sensory union in our care. Because
Yes.
again, there's only so much we can do each day in a way. So it's like, hey, let's at least not like put on things that are harming, and then, oh my God, if we can, just go to this other sort of field, this other banquet of beauty, it's much more sustaining because it's sustaining you on a cellular and a sensory level.
Exactly. Exactly. I wanted people to understand that because I remember how I felt, and I was in that moment, in the presence of that moment. I was like, wow. All I did is I just put this on my skin, and that
I like
that
hearing that.
sense of calm, isn't that amazing?
Mm.
Just that information and that consciousness that comes from the plants. Um, so I really want the audience to walk away understanding that their beauty rituals or what they do in the name of beauty has um, much greater consequences, greater benefits depending on what you use. So in that regard, if the beauty culture understood one single biological truth correctly, what would that be?
I think that there is a full intelligence to the body,
Yes.
and that like it knows what it's doing, and then we kind of just have to sort of get out of the way sometimes, and then just like get in tune with that, and that really will. Again, you're going to work with it. There's things you might adjust, but I'm just saying like it knows. Like we don't have to go to sleep every night and then like make that to-do list of like blood keep flowing, liver keep working, heart keep pumping. Like there is that innate
Yeah.
intelligence. And so we don't want to like override it with something that's going to create interference, informational interference. We want to work with it. And I think, eliminating the things that are unessential and interfering is like, that's like easy to do. And then the gains are fast. And then you open up to this other banquet of beauty.
So, in that regard, the idea that beauty is actually health and it goes beyond just beauty, much like what you
Yeah.
said, because the medicinal properties and um, the frequency of what is encased in the oils themselves go to work on much deeper levels than just the skin.
Hmm.
So when you create something meant to touch the body every day, much like it does, because of course, like our beauty routines are every morning you put this on and every night you put this on. Um, is there a responsibility that you feel towards the person, the audience, the customer at large that's using it?
Oh, I think always, like with every bottle, we just want it to, like, well, every formulation, well, and every bottle, but yeah, we just
Yes.
want it to be this, singular sensation of sensory care for the body so that every formula is active and has a purpose and
Yes.
will add something to your life. We just want to be a positive force multiplier in our,
And
what we
and
create and then what you're applying. So we're just like, multiplying that positive life force.
yeah, because I feel that every product carries intention because of
Hmm.
by virtue of what it's made of, by virtue of what it
Hmm.
contains inside of it.
Yes. And I'd have to say too, yes. So the inception and and also I feel like on one level, I feel like formulating is so easy because the quality of the beautiful ingredients and the distillations literally make it so easy. I mean, they're just all so beautiful. It's like, like arranging bouquets of
That's
flowers. It's
right.
just like, it's also juicy. And then also, I just got to say, I think there's that intentionality in the formula. And then I got to say, like, our team is just so amazing. And like every detail of every
Yes.
bottle and the whole process, it's something that, not a lot of skincare companies actually make their own stuff. And we've been able to design our own systems, our own architecture, and our whole like situation around that, and improving, upon like good practices, like good manufacturing practices and all that, but like taking it further, or like we use like biodynamic alcohol, for example, organic alcohol to clean things and equipment and sterilize instead of like rubbing isopropyl synthetic alcohol. And that is huge because there's some kind of residue that would eventually be in the product. You know what I mean? Like just like pristine all the
Absolutely.
way through.
This is exactly what they mean when they say, excuse me, may contain, when you look at certain food
Yeah.
products, may
Yes.
contain nuts, dairy,
Yeah.
so on and so forth, because there's residues that are being used from the equipment that's being used to make that particular thing. So that ends up, traces of it end up in the
Hmm.
product. And if people have any kind of intolerances or anything of that nature, then obviously the body's going to respond. Um, so tell us a little bit. I really want the audience to understand the best skin ever line because it's so amazing.
Well, yeah, the best skin ever we've been making since the 1994.
Yeah.
And of course we've added new ones, but the goal
Yes.
there too, like so I was in that earlier time, I was just questioning soap and surfactants and a lot of things, and historically looking into like, well, what do we do kind of before soap and all that kind of stuff. And really, oil is the best at lifting dirt, clearing pores, but then not stripping, not ruining the lipid barrier. And what we also now know about the microbiome gives us other information to show that really oils are great. Again, we're talking about the best
Hmm.
skin ever, beautiful oils, not your rancid stuff.
That's
So
right.
in the olden days of antiquity, different cultures, different times, but they were like the Roman Turkish baths, they would oil the body beforehand and then use a strigil, which is like a kind of a metal gua sha. And then they're running that over the whole body. And actually it's fun to gua sha your whole body with oil. It's like a really good exercise in, not exercise, but in getting like the oils deep. So it's something you could do, a couple times a month just to give your body that deeper treatment. Um, so it's really good. And or like Berber women, Moroccan like women, Gypsy women, all using the oils. So they were using like argan oil there, or in China, it was a lot of Camilla, that beautiful flower oil. So every culture in antiquity kind of had their oils and their special things. And
Absolutely.
actually, I just wrote a little bit about that more through understanding the essential oils that were mentioned in the Bible. We can look at a lot of the stuff from antiquity. And so I went deep into myrrh, spikenard, frankincense, sandalwood, because they were all around at those times. And I mean, they were so precious. And they were making unguents and oleo resins and, hair care. In For a king, it was mentioned in the book of Esther, there was a 1 year protocol for women that were to marry the king. I'm not sure of the setup,
Wow.
how many people like got married or like how many wives he had, but the protocol took a year. The first 6 months were about myrrh, dousing myrrh
Wow.
topically, internally on the hair. And then the next 6 months, you're still using a bit of myrrh, but then they were adding in other anointments and smells. So it's like a full, like almost a live embalming of the myrrh as this beautifying. I would actually like to enroll in that 1 year program and see what happens. I mean, if we could get the
Me
like
too.
actual protocols, actually, I think I'm going to see what the internet churns up and go into that further. So just like I love looking at that history because again, there was no synthetics around, and so we got to really
Exactly.
see how they were celebrated and really how perfume was often made by the spirit, like priests were perfumers in a way because they were creating concoctions because they knew it would affect people on a they didn't know about neurotransmitters, but I meant they knew it would affects the mind as well. And so, of course, perfume was very important in the sense in societies that were like quote unquote bathing less. But the perfume wasn't just this like aftermath of a scent we're going to stick on to hope, you know what I mean? So we can douse the elevator in the morning. It was more like it's like a whole part, like smelling good was like kind of at a pore level. And that what was making you smell good was like working on a cellular level. It wasn't
Absolutely.
just this like afterthought. It was like the whole of it. And that's what I love about when you were really looking at these. I mean, we're working with so many ingredients from antiquity, and I like that because there's a good track record and it's very simplified. I also find that the 1800s very neat line of research, and that's what I was looking at a lot in the 90s because that was sort of like a moment of modernity before we went into the industrialization. And
Yeah.
in the 1800s, they were looking at antiquity. And so there's a good moment of information, that isn't too old and that's looking at the older information and it's
Hmm.
before is that because as soon as synthetics were invented, then there was the divide um, of ingredients and then looking for the isolated ingredients. And then there was just that syntheticization, chemicalization, really picking up speed in the 40s and the 50s. 50s making it very ubiquitous, food, clothing, cosmetics, not, yeah, like everywhere, right? And so then I think we've sort of been finding our way from under that chemicalization.
Yeah, that's exactly what a lot of industries have done, chemicalized
Mm,
the entire world, really. Um,
mm,
and I really appreciate, and I really wanted the audience to understand the depth to which you've gone and just what you described right now. I mean, in biblical times, and when a woman would have to go through a 1 year protocol to be worthy of marrying the king, and how oils played such a role in that. And in that regard, I know that even, for example, rose has a lot of spiritual use back in the
yes.
Persian world,
Oh, yes.
Ayurveda,
Ab-
Sufi traditions.
Abyssinia. Abyssinia was I guess we would call him a polymath now. I don't think that word existed, but he was a perfumer, a physician. He refined the distillation of rose otto. He had a pharmacon of making all these kind of rose remedies. And
Hmm.
apparently, I mean, he wrote tons of books. They're all out there. And he was the king's physician. He was also an astronomer, but apparently he had like just a lineup at his sort of clinic all day, and a lot of it was about rose healing. So I thought that might be
Yeah,
fascinating. It was really all about the rose. Another really interesting moment is Abyssinia knew Rumi's father, which I can't remember his name, but there's a book of Rumi's father's writing called The Drowned Book. It's good. It's by Coleman Barks. Anyway, but apparently, like Abyssinia was walking, I can imagine like a dirt road, and then he saw Rumi's father, and there was little Rumi, and he said, "Oh, here comes the sea, but followed by the ocean." So he was just apparently seeing
wow.
what Rumi would become, because the dad was a bit of a poet. Um, oh, he has this one line about literally like the intelligence of like squeezing the juice out of the intelligence of plants or something. It's very cool. I quote it in my book, but I thought that was just a neat moment that brings together like Sufis and Persian culture and roses.
That's right. And you know what? There's actually, I mean, as when I've done a little bit of my research, as soon as 2018, they had studies that they had done, especially on rose oil, that
Yes.
inhalation of rose oil reduces anxiety and induces relaxation. That's on the
A
record.
new rose study, which I was just putting together some words on, which came out, I believe, this year, it shows that rose helps the brain grow, like rose essential oil.
It modulates the autonomic nervous system activity.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And that's actually that, yeah, so that's on the record as well. There have been studies about that. And another one of my favorites, because I know that you and I forget how many. I think I got 5 bottles from your site, and I'm going to get the audience to go to your website so that they could see just all the essential oils you have. Frankincense. So
Oh,
I know
yeah.
that this is like a sacred oil. It's been used for over 5,000 years. It's associated with prayer,
Hmm.
meditation, transcendental states, altered states of consciousness. And the reason for that is because the resin chemistry actually crosses the blood brain barrier.
Yeah, of every essential oil crosses the blood-brain barrier,
Yeah.
but in a good way, for sure. We actually have a frankincense kit, and I wrote a little booklet on frankincense, which anybody can email us for that, and we
Hmm.
send you the download. Also
Excellent.
on our ancient biblical sense, which is like, again, it doesn't matter if you're into the Bible at all, it doesn't matter because it's a historical look at that time through the lens of the essential oils. Like at the Last Supper, a whole alabaster jar, so at least a pound of spikenard, which is a root, a distilled rhizome, broke it open to wash Jesus's feet.
Yes.
Which we know about the washing of the feet, but what we don't know, or what we maybe haven't thought about, is this whole liter of spikenard. If we break that open right now in this, like in a room, the whole atmosphere will change. It's one of the thickest, heaviest, most soporific, sedating oils.
Wow.
Like it's actually got some of this valerones in it, which is related to valerian, and that literally would have changed like just brought to the. It would have been. It's a really. It's watching history. It's a part of history. It's the oils are shaping history, but from such a small, you know, like perspective that hasn't really been written about. And it was actually that also triggered Judas to do the betrayal because he was really questioning why. And it's obviously we're paraphrasing here, but
Hmm.
well, it's the whole Bible paraphrase. We don't know, but anyway, he literally was like, "Why are you like? It's so expensive. It was like a year's worth of salary, that bottle of spikenard." And he was sort of questioning that extravagance. And basically, Jesus was like, "Well, I'm worth it," so to speak. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
what.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then, yeah, and then the story of even coming to the tomb, right? Like there's the on the cross, they're offering the last sip of water he has is with hyssop. It's a hyssop infused water. So I just find that fascinating. It's very purifying.
Hmm.
And then um, there's literally the word morphone, like these, which are the myrrh bearers, these morphone women. And that's like Mary, and they came to the tomb to bring myrrh and frankincense and aloes wood, which is sandalwood, to anoint the body. But that's when they discovered there was no body there anymore. So it's a
Yeah,
key part. So you got frankincense and myrrh at the nativity, then you've got it at this resurrection moment, and then when they literally did gas chromatography or fluorescent microscope on the Shroud of Turin, which is, I mean, there seems to be a lot of science behind that it is a legitimate
yeah.
artifact.
Hmm.
And so from that, when they test it, you can see a very high quality resonant remnants and residue of myrrh, sandalwood, and pollen from like immortelle and artemisia. Or there's and the other things, but it just like the essences were there, witnessing history, shaping history, and they're here for us today, and we can bring that. So there's like that present, there's all the, with every drop of oil, you've got all that amazing science and the chemical constituents, and it's going to release the neurotransmitters, it's going to stimulate circulation and blah, blah, blah. And then you've got that morphogenic field, that cellular resonance of just frankincense as this consciousness
Yeah.
of the plant, right? That has been with us and been witness to all of this. So I just feel like it's like, yeah, like why wouldn't you want that in your skincare?
Yeah.
Instead
So
of like
for,
petroleum and paraben, like woohoo,
I know, all
you
in the
know?
name of price. Um, for those that are, because I, like I said, I love essential oils. So of course I went and I did the aromatherapy course. But so the name, the actual name, the Latin name is Boswellia carteri or
Yes.
Boswellia sacra. And sacra, of
Yeah, we
course,
and we
comes
have
from
nine types
sacred.
of,
Yes,
and
you
they're
do.
eight. Oh, it is so fun to smell them all. There's one, we're out of it right now. It's so hard to get, but it's coming. It was supposed to come here now, but we've got one more month delayed, and it's frankincense occulta. That's the Latin name, and this is really neat. So we don't discover new plants often, but this is like a quote unquote new frankincense, yet it's been with us all along. What they discovered was in a lot of the Boswellia, um, they were getting at pieces of this other variety. So
Mm,
in the Boswellia cartieri, there was this other variety that was just has been in there all along. And when they separated it out, it's this other one, and it's so distinct in its properties and scent. It's got the frankincense vibes, but it's quite otherworldly. And it actually has a chemical component that is found in no other plant and not in any of the other frankincenses. And I can't remember what it's called this name, but it's only found in spider webs and like
what?
millipede splooge, kind of like they have like sticky, like a sticky resin. And it kind of like is this sort of waterproof, like a kind of a raincoat for the plant. And it does that
Wow.
frankincense seems to have even all the frankincenses are amazing for the skin, but it seems to have an extra
Awesome.
resonance for skincare. And then there's like we've got Royal Hajari frankincense, Green Hajari
I
frankincense.
got those both.
Yeah, the
Yes.
classic Cartieri's, the
Sacra.
Reveille, the Friana, the Frank. So they're all just like their own characters. It's awesome.
Yeah, and for those that actually follow science or want the science, because I know there's a lot of people, I want you all
All
to
of the
know.
science.
Yes, all the science heads. Boswellia, or rather frankincense oil, is actually anti-inflammatory. The
Yes.
boswellic acids have that. They're very neuroprotective and anxiolytic.
Yes.
So just for that alone, instead of doing anything in the sense of chemical based, then this will do the job very well. And it supports the parasympathetic dominance. And
Yep.
I know that in 2006, there was a study that they did on how they reduce, how this in particular, the boswellic acids reduce the neuroinflammation. So that's there for those
Yes.
people that want to see if they do want proof. Because a lot of people ask me whenever I tell them, I'm like, oh, use this. And they're like, well, is there a study? Can you
Oh, yeah.
cite? Can you give me the number? Is it on PubMed? And also, there was another one done that I remember in 2008 about frankincense smoke activating channels in the brain that are linked to calm and emotional regulation. So, this oil kind of drops you into sort of stillness and
And it's burning
calmness.
it in so many churches, right? It's
That's
setting the
right.
tone.
That's
And it's
right.
gorgeous as like it's well, frankincense. It's literally one of the first incenses, so to speak. And perfume comes from the word meaning parfume through smoke.
Yeah.
So incense was the first sort of smoke. So you burn the frank and like kind of waft it all over your body, just like you can do with a sweet grass or sage. And
Sage,
then perfumes
especially.
became sort
Yes.
of the liquid smoke. And frank is so good for like so good for oral care, but literally like oral disease. Like it will like from mouth cancers to like there's so much work done with frank and the cancers.
Yeah, for those of you that are listening, I have interviewed Nadine and we talked about oral care. Please go and check
Yeah.
out that episode. I'm glad to have you back so we could discuss that again because it's so important, especially in the sense of exactly what you said, cancers,
Mhm.
mouth cancers. I know that there's a lot related to that from various viral infections such as HPV in the, with regards to throat cancers and such. So please gargle with essential
You know what? One
oils.
of the biggest causes of mouth cancer, well, I don't know if it's the biggest, but it in the stat from 2012 was 36,000 cases a year.
I can probably guess that it would be mouthwash use,
Yes.
mainstream mouthwash use.
Yes.
And for those that don't know, because I did the study after I interviewed you, there was a class action lawsuit. So Listerine, back in the day, way
Mhm.
back in the day, was actually a floor cleaner, which
Yeah, and
had
you know what
been
else it was?
repurposed. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
but before that, before it was in the mouth, you can look up the old Listerine ads as a douche.
Women
Yeah.
used to insert that into, oh my
Yeah, the
God.
ads are crazy. I write about it in my book Renegade Beauty. I have a chapter on yoni care, but it was like first, I believe
Oh.
this was the order. First, it was Lysol, and then that was causing issues. So they went to the Listerine as the more mild. The ads are well, they're
Wow.
hilarious, but not really. There's just like literally like a man on the outside of a bedroom door and the woman inside like being horrified because she hasn't douched with her Listerine kind of thing.
Wow. Oh my
Kind of
God.
insane. Yeah.
That is so scary. So
Yeah.
yeah, for I would really empower people to look whatever you decide to use on your body, go and do the research going backwards to see if anything that is mainstream has just been repurposed for some other use so that it can continue to, make money. Nadine, I want to know what you think beauty was always meant to be before it became an industry. And then I really want you to talk about your book.
Okay. Um, well, yeah, I mean, we put a lot, I mean, as in the past 50 years, I'm sure we put a lot into it as marketing and advertising became a thing more and more. And now we have social media and all that. So who really knows where we're at with the
Yeah.
definition of beauty? But I mean, I just feel it's that classic thing of like just bringing it out from the inside out. And I'm sure that was a part of, I mean, I just don't think in the old day, like, I mean, antiquity, et cetera, I don't think they could have separated the care of the body with beauty. Like, I just feel like it was one and the same action. And then obviously, but even beside caring for the body, I mean, I think there's just beauty with a capital B is more like a feeling. And to me, in that grander sense of the word, it's more like when you're just feeling aligned with like the universe, the cosmos, like looking at a sunrise. I feel like it's
Mm.
like that's like not because it's just beautiful, but that's beauty because you're in relation in that moment to the sunrise. And so I feel like beauty is kind of also when you're not. So there's some like life is so beautiful that it kind of disappears the self for that those fun moments where you don't actually have to think about brushing your teeth or washing your face, but just being in the beauty of life.
Yes, and also the feeling it evokes when you put that level of self care and investment in the self care, especially on the organ that has so many functions beyond that of
Mm-hmm.
beauty, but rather detoxification is literally the barrier to protect everything inside. So we
Mm-hmm.
have to really treat this organ with more than just through the lens of beauty, but rather all that it is, and to be able to
Mm-hmm.
feed it with the information. And I mean, everything that you said that goes back to biblical time and the amount of what would go into for the royalty for them to be able to have access to all of this speaks to the importance of treating beauty as more than just skin deep and something
Mm-hmm.
that we offer to the world in the sense of my worth is tied to my beauty, but rather as a
Mm-hmm.
medicinal investment. And especially when I think about the people that spend extraordinary amounts of money, even in the brands that you mentioned in the beginning, the Dior's and the Cliniques and the La Mer's, and because they make claims that they have access to ingredients or that they have formulated with ingredients that have certain properties that actually give the body more than just the beauty, but medicinal properties, but properties that actually inform the body how to function and how to carry out its functions, how to repair, how to detoxify. And I know because, of course, but I studied it, which is why I wanted to have you on the show. I know that essential oils do that to the power of a million. So
Mhm.
I really
Well, and
wanted
if
people to
there is
understand.
any kind of ingredient in like a Dior, and again, I'm being so general here, but if there is some kind of like, oh, that is interesting, that is good, it's in a sea of basically saran wrap. And and
Yes.
anything that is like petroleum or silicone based, it is putting a layer of a kind of a microfilm, an invisible layer of saran wrap on your skin, and it's impairing the respiration of the skin. And really, the skin's main purpose is it is our part of a huge part of our innate immune system, and it's
Yep.
communicating. It's communicating to our nerves and hormones. And so there's all that going on. I think of the skin as this sort of moist envelope of the soul. And it is also this teeming tapestry of cells and bacteria. We literally are also a host. It's not just us. If you're ever lonely, you don't have to be because we've got billions of bacteria hanging out with us. But we got to be a good host and create that environment. And then that
Yes.
the beneficial bacteria will be our beautician. It's just part of it. So we don't want to, kind of have a scorched earth policy with our skin and be stripping and fumigating and chemicalizing in the quote unquote name of beauty.
Which is exactly what the mainstream beauty industry does, chemicalizes. And I really want people to understand because you said something important, and I love the poetic way that you described it as a moist envelope of the soul. It's so beautiful. But
I was inspired by William Blake from that one.
I
That
love
old,
that
yeah.
so much. But I want people to understand because if for those of you that cannot make the connection between what Nadine said when it comes to hormones and the skin, think of how many times we use things and then we end up with imbalanced hormones. Everything that
Mhm.
we put on our skin actually, and this doesn't just apply to women. I want men to know that a lot of the
Even nail
product.
polish study comes out, it's affecting
Yes.
hormones,
Yeah. I
which we
mean,
don't think, but the nails have to breathe too.
lotions that are scented, lotions that, and a lot of times you could probably feel that a lot of things just sit on top of the skin, doesn't even get absorbed. So that's very important. Now, Nadine, tell us about
Mm.
Renegade Beauty because I want people to read it. It's just infused with knowledge and wisdom. It's not just how to be beautiful, but just the all of the effort that you took to put so much information that is historical, so that it's an education kind of manual, more so than
Yeah,
just a book.
I wanted to include like, yeah, as much, history and understanding
Yes.
and um and lots of science. It's like 400 I think about 400 pages. There's
Yep.
like 500 citations. Kind of the general thesis too is that like it's not another bottle or jar of cream that's really going to revive our beauty. It's about really engaging with the elements of life. So
Mm-hmm.
bringing in sort of as that first realm, that first foundation is engaging with the earth, the sun, the air. What's the other element? Water. I'm gonna remember what the other one. Anyway, and what I'm saying by that is like pure air, lying on the earth, bringing all the beautiful gifts from the earth, like the essential oils, good food, pure air, walking, air baths, and sun. We all need some sun. So just bringing those together first, because that's actually what really revives our being and our souls and that connection and remembering that cosmic connection, because we are stardust. We are like literally,
Yes, we are.
uh, there's like microbes that have landed on the planet from meteorites that we find in our body and that kind of thing. So we're this cosmic dust, and we want to engage in that, even though we're at a level of living where we luckily aren't, we're no longer, obviously, what am I trying to say here? In the old days, we had to struggle with the elements, right? We had to find water, shelter, all that kind of stuff. But now, generally, from our homes with plumbing, we are safe, but almost too safe because now we're like 90% indoors. So we want to, get outside, understand those elements and how, like, we need the electrons, from the earth. We need the photons from the sun. We need the oxygen from the air. So and of course, we need water. So we need to bring those into our lives as sort of as our beauty bathing attendants. That's what you want to sort of bring in first. And then I go into the body. So we've got a deep skincare chapter, sun, oral care. There's a section on, pregnancy, breasts, yoni care. We've got recipes. Then there's like an A to Z quick solution from everything to poison ivy to acne, where you can get quick remedies and that kind of thing. Chapter on perfume. So I go in deep, and I just wanted to, at that point, give all that I knew from the past 30 years and really distill it into a beauty Bible, so to speak. And I thought I would add that I do have a section on hair care in there, but I
Mm-hmm.
recently just completed a long form article on Substack, which is, it's long. It's like basically almost a book. It's a chapter. So I put together all that I know the past 30 years of like formulating for hair care and helping many people help their hair thickness, density to stop shedding, etc. And so it is like all in there. The simple, like sort of the North Star situation that you need to really uh, take care of the scalp, that's really where what you want to take care of is the scalp microbiome to foster healthy hair. And yeah, so it's a long read, but Substack will read it for you. It's literally about the size of my dental book. But I wanted to get it all in. And so we go in through the science, we look at antiquity and the cultures that really had some good hair situations going on. Then there's a very juicy do-it-yourself section where it's very simple remedies. You don't even have to bring out a blender, where we can really look at like if there's melasma yeast problems, if there's dandruff, all those things are all the answers are in there. And then what is the best biohacking available right now that will actually give results for hair growth. So I'm really excited about that because whenever I get like a chunk of that out of my brain, it's very good because otherwise I'm holding it. So I'm excited about that one.
I'm sure you probably had a lot of the listeners when you said hair growth, not just the ladies, but the men too.
Yes, yeah, we can really solve it, and you can really, no matter your age, I mean, if it's already all gone, that might be hard, but there's so much in there that will get it growing.
For those that are listening to this audio, if you were to see Nadine's hair, she is like Rapunzel. Your hair must be way past your butt, Nadine.
No, it actually, belly button?
Yeah, so to your waist for sure, I could see, and it's so thick and luscious. It's oh my goodness, definitely goals for a lot of people. Um, so I did promise you guys that certain women don't just build brands, they build languages, they build a whole consciousness. They build something that is ineffable almost. It's her work is biblical and historical. And I really, really want you guys to treat your skin to the best of the best. And trust me when I tell you, because I've done my research, especially after all the studying that I've done, there is no better than this out on the market. So please, I implore you, go and treat yourself, or at least just give it a try. So Nadine, with that being said, can you tell us where can your work be found? So definitely tell us about the Substack. You probably have your book available on your website as well. What is the website? Where can people get access to all of your products?
Yes, well, our website is livinglibations.com, so everything's in there. Through that, we do have articles as well. And I forgot to mention, we do consulting. It's totally free. I've got two people that have what Joy's been with us for 14 years, so they know my brain, and we're just there because it's like a whole world. And so if you want to
Mhm.
figure out an oral care routine, or you have questions, hair care, whatever you want, some people come with their mother or their spouse or their grandmother. That's kind of fun, or a little bridal party. So yeah, just book that. It's super easy, and there's no strings or anything, I promise. And the book. So we've got holistic dental care and renegade beauty. They're on our site. They're on the Amazons, etc. They're
That's where I
also
got it.
Audible versions available on Audible. And then like Instagram is our more active social. We got Nadine Artemis and Living Libations, and
Living
then the
Libations.
Substack is newer because I thought there's some deeper articles that when I'm really going to stuff, I can't totally have them on the website because it's like too, I don't know, FDA Health Canada. So I want to give it all. So it's good if I go over there. And also it's so like it's the long form article. Basically, Substack is for long form articles.
Yes.
So it's a good, and it's like um, good on the not censorship, whatever that's called. You know what I mean? It's a good
Yeah.
platform for that. And so I'll it's not like it's all free on Substack. I'll probably be releasing like 5 to 6 chapter or articles a year because they're going to be super deep, and they're almost going to be like the next chapters of Renegade Beauty. So that's what we got going on there.
Oh, there's going to be another chapter on Renegade Beauty.
Well, this is now the chapters are just free. Like here's the hair chapter. And I am going to be
Yes.
writing I'll be doing the more articles, and then at some point, hopefully in the next year, I'll be finishing. I have a book on sun care, which I love.
Oh,
It's
amazing. So
one
I
of my
used
favorite subjects.
when I traveled this year, I traveled quite a bit this year, and I did take that with me, the best skincare, which
Everybody Loves the
was
Sunshine. Maybe that
just,
one. Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
It was amazing. Amazing. I mean, not only because, like I said, for me, the scent alone just hits me in the emotional field, but just the fact that the skin was taken care of course, alongside the other regimen, consisting of the sun, I mean, of the rose oil and all of that.
Mhm.
Yes. So
Yes.
I
We have
promised,
rose poetic pits. So the rose deodorant and the roses shining everywhere perfume is so lovely. It's
yes,
combining 5 different roses. So
that,
the
oh,
frequency is amazing. And a
we,
little bit of vanilla and sandalwood in there.
oh, vanilla and rose together. Doesn't get more feminine than that. I promise to put every single link in the show notes, guys, just so that you guys can see exactly where what she was talking about can be found. And I want to close this episode to remind you guys the skin was never the problem. And beauty has never been something to be engineered or maintained. And Nadine, what you've articulated so clearly is that when we relate to the body with respect, or with the respect that it needs, and when we feed it instead of just manage it or try to correct it, something very profound happens. At least this is exactly how I understand it and what it's done for me. The body responds, the body appreciates with gratitude, and it doesn't do that, I wouldn't say out of obedience, but out of recognition for the love and care that it's receiving. So it feels like the deeper invitation here for the audience isn't to look better or to look different, but to live differently inside our beautiful skin that we were gifted with. And maybe that's what beauty has always been all about. Not an outcome, but
Yeah,
a
it's like
relationship. Yeah.
feel better, and maybe the looks will follow.
Yes. So, Nadine, thank you so much for being on my show and for speaking in a language that the body remembers, and for transmitting this important information for everybody to understand the true essence of beauty. And of course, I would love to have another conversation if you're willing to come back so we could talk about sun care and hair care, because I really want people to understand that instead of damaging what we have, we're actually supposed to nourish what we have, and we're supposed to support what we have that is already encoded with information and encoded with all the instructions on how to function, on how to thrive, on how to operate, so that we don't actually turn off that signal, but rather we support the body in continuing to do what it's meant to do. So thank you so much for all your wisdom. Thank you for your presence, for all the information that you gave our listeners, especially the biblical information. That was mind blowing. My goodness, Nadine, you do so much research. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you. I do too. I'll be back.
Everybody go give Nadine a follow on Instagram. Check out the Substack, and please get your book. Trust me when I tell you, you will learn more about from the beauty Bible, as she calls it. And yes, that's exactly what it is, than you will from any website or from anybody at any of the mainstream stores out there who try to help you with beauty. And we will see you on the next episode of Health Confidential. Thank you so much for joining me on Health Confidential, where healing is more than just symptom relief. It's a return to the body's original blueprint, guided by truth, intuition, and cellular intelligence. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And follow me on Instagram at simone.gisondi for daily insights, behind the scenes wisdom, and holistic inspiration. To explore working with me and to get your own custom made healing protocol, visit simonegisondi.com and book your private consultation to start working together. Remember, your body is sacred, your intuition is gold, and healing is your birthright. I'm Simone Gisondi, and this has been Health Confidential. See you in the next episode.